everybody, it's me, Cheryl360, and today is the first day of the Shine Book Club, and we are doing Chapter 1 of Jessica Jung's Shine. If you have not bought this book already, it's really easy to purchase. You can find it on Amazon. They have it in the Kindle version, and they have it in the hard copy version. I know that there's going to be different versions of this book, because there's a Korean press version, which has probably got Korean language, so if that's what you read, you'll be able to find it. I will be talking about the American release because that is what I have access to. That is what is in my hand. So this is what I'm reviewing. But before I review this, I have a mystery package I have to open because I do not know what this is. Whatever it is, it feels soft. But I think this is from Mason because he said he was sending me something. And yeah, I have no idea what the hell this is. So I know exactly what this is, you guys, and it is not appropriate for your eyes, but wait, is that? Ew! Ew! Gross! Oh my gosh, this is so hilarious. So me and Mason, we talk about manga and manhwa a lot, and I sent him these screen caps of this manhwa I was reading where the penises had faces, and so he sent me a little penis friend. So I love it. I love it. I think it is adorable. It is the sweetest thing in the world. What a cute little boy. I'm just gonna say it, a cute little boy, and I am gonna treasure him forever. Oh my gosh, Mason, you're hilarious. I love this thing. I love this thing. Okay. Now let's get into Shine by Jessica Jung. So I read the first chapter only because I'm trying to be accurate with the way we do these reviews. I don't want to read ahead and then I know something is related to another thing in the future that you guys don't know. I'm trying to be very, very genuine about this. So the first chapter is the setup chapter. It's the chapter where we kind of get introduced to who our main character is, who the supposed villain of the story is, who the accomplices are, the general situation. And for those of us who are familiar with who Jessica Jung is in real life, outside of being an author, we have a lot of expectations for this story. One of the main expectations is the fact that Jessica is a former member of SNSD, also known as Girls' Generation, arguably one of the most popular girl groups to ever come out of South Korea. Definitely they opened the door when it came to Hallyu spreading across the world. They were crazy popular in Japan, crazy popular in China, crazy popular to most international fans. Like, they are just a really well-known thing. And at the time that Jessica left SNSD, the company forced her out, depending on whose opinion you want to take. It was a really big deal because SNSD was not a group that was on the decline. In fact, they were a very popular, much beloved group, and they had a very active fandom at the time. So it was surprising when she was no longer a part of the group, and people had been wanting her to tell her story for many, many years. And so coming into this book, a lot of us were thinking, okay, this is going to be her telling her story and really giving us the dirt. But there are a couple of reasons why it's probably improbable that we're going to get the real dirt when it comes to what happened. One of them being, I'm sure there's a bunch of NDAs and a bunch of other legal threats that she has to be very careful of. Korea has very strict defamation laws, so she has to really dot her I's and cross her T's to not be embroiled in another lawsuit, because she did lose a lawsuit in China. But another reason why we're probably not going to get the skinny is because already from chapter 1, it is obvious that this is going to be kind of a teen romance slash, girls fantasy type of book, and not sci-fi fantasy. I mean just like, wish fulfillment type shit, because unfortunately, you're being very loud. Unfortunately, Jessica is a little bit narcissistic. To be honest with you, there are some descriptions of the main character here, which we're supposed to kind of take as Jessica's avatar, that it's almost impossible to take the story seriously, because when you read this description, it's like, come on now. Come on now. So I'm going to read a passage that stood out to me, and it's of note. So this was the very beginning of the book. It's set up where the girls, there's 9 girls, there's 9 girls that are chosen to do an interview about their group being like the latest and greatest group. And Rachel, who's our protagonist, she is in this interview, and they ask her questions, and she is just terrible at interviews. She freezes up and doesn't answer questions. When she does, her answers are vapid. They don't make any sense. It's just, she's not good at this. And so we find out that it's not a real interview. It's actually a practice interview, because she's a trainee, and this particular label does interview classes, which I have to say, I was very interested in hearing about the fact that they have interview classes at DB Entertainment, because one of the things I've always wondered about is like, what kind of training do idols get for things that have nothing to do with singing and dancing? And I've always assumed that variety and talent and stuff in terms of like interview skills, soft skills, social skills were a part of what they get being an idol, and this kind of confirms that for me. But after the interview is over, the interviewer, who I guess is a teacher at DB Entertainment, has the following feedback for people. So he tells one girl, he says, I'd like to see a little bit more energy for the next week. And he says, how many times do I have to tell you, no bubblegum during mock interviews? He tells that to Eunji. Then he tells Sumin, Lizzie, you're more personality from both of you. No one's paying 200,000 won for a K-pop concert full of stars who use makeup to hide the fact that they have nothing interesting to say. This is the instructor saying this to 2 girls. So, I mean, already the instructor is snapping, and you're like, oh shit, this person sounds really mean. This is their criticism to Rachel. And listen for the tone change. Rachel, we've been over this before. Your singing and dancing is some of the best we've ever seen, but that's only part of the job. If you can't even sell yourself to me during a training interview, how do you expect to perform in front of huge crowds every night, or do real interviews with live audiences? We expect more from you.
I'm sensing unfairness.
2 girls, he tells them, nobody's gonna pay to see you because y'all ain't got no personality. Another girl, didn't I tell you to quit popping your gum? Rachel, you know, you are the best thing we've ever come across, and this is just the only missing piece to make you perfect. I'm disappointed, child. It's like, okay, really bizarre tonal change. Also, the fact that somebody who's not the main character is telling the main character, you are the best, already sets us up for Mary Sueville. Like, it's just like, okay, well, I now hate this girl.
Mary Sueville.
I'm so sorry. I hate her now. But also, like, something that bothers me, and I hope that I see more of this in future chapters, because I don't know, I feel like this sold me a bill of goods that maybe won't be cashed in. So I told you already, the tone change between the way that the instructor talks to the other girls and the way they talk to Rachel was really bizarre. And I already sense that this book is going to have some problems with tone, is going to have some problems with scene transitions, conversational transitions. I saw a few of those in this first chapter. But on page 1, I'm going to read a chapter without any context, and I want you to tell me, not a whole chapter, a paragraph. I want you to tell me what kind of book you think I'm reading when I read this passage. The corners of my lips turn up in a perfectly sweet, don't you want to tell me all your secrets, pink gloss smile? But you probably shouldn't. You know they say 3 can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. Well, that couldn't be truer for my world, where everyone is always watching and your secrets can actually kill you. Or at least they can kill your chance to shine.
Pretty Little Liars who?
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you read that, you're like, okay, are we setting ourselves up for like a murder mystery?
Yes!
Like, it definitely
Murder mystery.
Like, it definitely gives you that vibe. And there's been no indication from anybody that I've seen who's read this book that that is at all what comes into play for these chapters. So I just really don't understand why that was put in the very beginning of the book. Like, it's literally on page 1. It's this paragraph right here. It's page 1. If that's not the tone of the entire story, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to put that there. But also because putting that there, I get that the author and her ghostwriter, I'm assuming, put that there to give you the idea that there's going to be a lot of backstabbing and there's going to be some intrigue. But saying that your secrets can actually kill you sets a much higher stake than what's actually involved with this. Saying your secrets can kill you is life or death, not career ending. So that's why I'm puzzled as to why that's right there, and they didn't go with something maybe a little bit lower stake. But that, I digress. So after the interview, we have a conversation with Rachel and Mina, and it's established that Mina is the lead dancer. She is also from a very wealthy family, has access to a lot of resources, and we shouldn't like Mina because Mina is mean to Rachel. And on the one hand, I'm buying into the fact that Mina's not nice because the things that she says are not nice things. Without me knowing her entire background, I can flat out say that her criticism of Rachel at the end of the interview, it's not polite. However, there's a couple of things going on here that really bother me. We're told that Mina is somebody that we're not supposed to like, because she's rich, apparently, is one of the reasons why we shouldn't like her. But in their interview sequence where they're doing the mock interview, Mina saves Rachel's ass. Like, there's a question that Rachel is asked and she can't answer it, so Mina like steps in and gives a good answer. So like, there's a time when they're saying, you know, hey, you're so talented, and because you're so talented, does it drive the other girls to be just as hardworking? And Rachel's like, it's true, I am talented. And then she like fumbles. And then Mina comes and is like, yes, we're all very talented, but we work together as a team. Like, basically she saves the answer. So like, I can't hate her for doing her job in this sequence. Also, we're told about a very special set of circumstances that Rachel has, and we don't right now have the answer as to why Rachel has these special circumstances. So
I have a very special set of skills.
Well, okay. Mina, it's told to us from the beginning that Mina's family is super rich. They own a bunch of grocery stores, movie theaters, just like all kinds of stuff. They're basically like the Lotte family. However, Mina and all the rest of the trainees live at the trainee house. They train all day long. This is their job. Rachel, who comes from, I'm going to assume, a modest or middle class family, she does not live at the trainee house. She goes to regular school, does her homework, sleeps at home, and then does the bulk of her training on the weekends and a couple hours a day during the week. And she says that the trainees have resentment towards her because she has this special arrangement. And to be honest, it's really hard for me to be mad at Mina criticizing Rachel when Mina's got access to all of the resources. Like, her dad is obviously a very powerful person, but she chose to be a part of the trainee system that every other trainee is supposed to be a part of. So why is it that I would be mad at Mina for criticizing Rachel when Mina's obviously taking this seriously enough that she's living in the trainee house and doing the things that trainees are supposed to do? Another situation in this book that really made me feel like Rachel can go eat one. They have a situation where they're having the trainee bowing ceremony. So when new trainees come into the company, they have a ceremony where the new trainees will bow to the older trainees, both older in age and older in tenure, like they've been with the company longer. And apparently this is where the bad blood between Mina and Rachel started, because Rachel did not bow to Mina, even though Mina is her sunbae. And Mina apparently threw a fit. And this allegedly happened when Rachel was 11 years old. And so Mina was the same age, so they were both 11 years old. in the 7 years since, maybe, I'm assuming that Rachel's about 17, they have not made up. They have not made up at all. And I can't help but think that this is one of those things that it should have been resolved over time. I don't know why they still have this grudge, but they have this new ceremony, and Mina tells Rachel, you shouldn't be a part of the ceremony because you're a foreigner, which we're like, ooh, that sounds kind of cold, because Rachel is there with her Japanese trainee friend, and this is said to both the Japanese trainee friend and to Rachel. And so it's like, that wasn't cool, Mina. But then they're all eating, and Mina says something to Rachel like, oh, why weren't you a part of the ceremony? And she says that because Mr. No, who owns the record company, is sitting within earshot. So she says that to Rachel, and then Rachel comes back with like a remark about, I'm enjoying the food because I'm naturally skinny, unlike some people, which, okay, why are we going to physical things? You didn't have to do all that. And then immediately after that, rather than retort with something ugly because she knows Mr. No, who owns the company, is sitting nearby, instead she says this: if you and Akira are free tonight, why don't you join us for vocal practice at the trainee house? We do it every Saturday night, and I wouldn't want you to fall behind. So before Rachel can respond to be like, I'm not going to go, I don't want to go, Mr. No, who owns the company, who hears this conversation, comes over and says, what is this I hear about a late night practice? Rachel, was this your idea? Our most hardworking trainee? His eyes focus on me as all around trainees have gone silent. Now, I mentioned earlier, Rachel does not train every single day, all day, like the other trainees do. Mr. No calls her our most hardworking trainee, even though she goes to school during the day. She practices a couple of hours in the evenings after she does her homework. She sleeps at her own house. But she is called the most hardworking trainee by Mr. No, who owns the company. Not only that, but Mr. No says, Rachel, was this your idea? Let me ask you something. If there's a party out there that we're all going to this party, and I say, hey, Susie, do you want to go to this party with me? Is the party Susie's idea, or is the party my idea? Why would you think from hearing that conversation that Susie had the idea to have the party if I'm inviting her to come? I can't invite her to come to a party she invented. That's just not how that works. So already it's like, everyone who's not Mina and somebody close to Mina is established to be on Rachel's side. Mr. No is on Rachel's side. The trainer who discovered Rachel when she was 11 years old at Noribang, she's on Rachel's side. She won't let anybody know about her relationship with Rachel because she doesn't want to seem like Rachel's being favored, even though she has this special arrangement with the company. The guy who did the interview was like, everybody else, you're shit. Rachel, I'm disappointed in you. Like, it's just a very uneven narrative, and I don't understand why it's like that. So Random Chibi said, that part really got me interesting. The way foreign trainees are treated. I hoped it would be brought up more and expanded on. I hope so too. There is a character here. I mentioned her name briefly. It's Akari, and she is the Japanese trainee who is on DB Entertainment. And the reason she's on DB Entertainment is because her dad, I guess, has a big position with the Korean government, and she initially was a trainee in Japan, but when they moved to Korea, he was able to pull some strings to get her to be a trainee at DB Entertainment. And this is a very interesting thing to me because as far as I know, SM Entertainment, which is who this is based on, more than likely, has never had a Japanese female artist. They had Boa, who was very popular in Japan, and they've had a Chinese female artist, but I don't think they've ever had any Japanese female artist. Correct me if I'm wrong. So this was just very interesting that this was brought up on here because they have had Japanese guys, but even like the Japanese guys, they weren't trainees during the time that Jessica was there, I don't think. Well, maybe like some of the babies from NCT, but they would have been like babies. Like Jessica probably would have never interacted with any of the Japanese NCT trainees during her tenure at SM. So I thought it was interesting that she brings up the possibility of there being a Japanese trainee on this label. So there's that. They do a kind of decent job in setting up who's going to be perhaps our main mystery man. Jason is the guy who's going to be the mystery man / love interest. It's been previewed, so this is not a secret I'm telling you. This is not me reading ahead. This is what it is here. And the way that they set him up is that there's trainees walking around the bowing ceremony, and they happen to mention that Jason has the same hair color code as somebody from a group called Big Money, Romeo from Big Money. And all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, Jason Lee, DB's newest K-pop star and the latest addition to the coveted plaque on the yearbook after his group Next Boys debuted at #1 with their single True Love. Okay, that was a mouthful. But I'm glad he was kind of introduced in that way, in terms of like, we want to know more about this guy. So I thought that was a pretty smooth bit of kind of interjection there. But I also am concerned because this is an annoyance for me. It's a personal annoyance for me. Jessica uses a lot of adjectives and descriptive words where it's not necessary. Like, I get that we're trying to set the scene, but like, she describes the color of the wood on the floor. She describes how many screens are in a room. She describes what color fingernail polish she has, white and lavender stripes. Like, I get it. You're trying to paint a picture in my head, but you also need to leave room for me to breathe. And this whole sentence is a lot. Like, that was a really long sentence. And so I'm concerned about how the rest of this book will be written. But I am interested to see Jason once he finally arrives. I also have my suspicions as to who Jason is. I think it's Tekken from 2 p.m. I think it's Tekken from 2 p.m. That's just my belief. I don't know if it's true, but that's just how I feel. But I want to know who this Romeo from Big Money is, because, I mean, just reading it like this without really knowing who she's talking about, I want to say D-Dragon from Big Bang. Romeo from Big Money, to me, my mind is automatically thinking G-Dragon from Big Bang. I don't know if this guy will come up again in the story, because I haven't read that far, but that's just how I'm feeling at this current time. But that's how we're set up. That's the first chapter of the book, and I will give it to Jessica. It is very wordy, but it's not a very complicated style of writing, so it's really easy to get through. Like, you don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about what does that word mean, or what is she talking about. Most things are pretty easy to understand. Even though there's a ton of descriptors in here, I think that helps with some people in terms of being able to envision the scene. But that's the kind of reading you're gonna. It's very YA style reading, almost an old-fashioned version of YA style reading. But I'm enjoying it so far. I'm enjoying hoping I hear some more rumors, especially because there's one passage in here that I was like, okay, if we get more of this style of stuff, I'm really invested in this story. So here is the story right here. A few months ago, when a female trainee, Susie Choi, was suddenly let go in the middle of a training cycle, rumors had run rapid that she had a drug problem and she owed thousands of dollars to her dealers, who sold her to one of those North Korean-themed restaurants in Cambodia. Akira, on the other hand, claimed she had seen Susie on the street holding hands with some cute boy, but I don't believe it. There's no way Susie would have ever broken DB's strict no-dating rule. In this industry, illicit drugs are more believable than an illicit boyfriend. Let me tell you something. I would love to hear more about the kind of scandals that would get you removed from a K-pop company, or how a K-pop company deals with a scandal, or, how drug abuse gets started and is complicated by matters of fame, or, definitely the boyfriend situation. Like, would you really give it all up for a fucking dude? I wouldn't, but whatever. But yeah, stuff like that I want to hear. I mean, and part of that is just because I'm a gossipy person, but also, like, again, there's intrigue there, and that's what I'd like to see. But I absolutely agree with Random Chibi. The transitions are terrible. They're absolutely terrible. And, like, the sentence that I talked about with Akira, all of that is inside parentheses. It didn't need to be there. It's just a sentence. You didn't have to parenthesis that. So, yeah. I'm looking at this as definitely this is an amateur piece of writing. This is somebody who has not either somebody who's not been published before, or somebody who's not like well known and had a lot of opportunities to publish before, because there's some work that needs to be done here. There's some things here that just aren't as smooth as they should be. But again, like I said, it's an entertaining read, so I think it's going to be easy to get through. There's just one question I have for you guys, because when I read it, I did not understand what the hell I was reading. And so I was hoping that maybe you guys would understand it a little bit more. Okay, so there is a scene here where Rachel is talking about what she decided to eat. And I'm going to try to find the name of that food that she's got. Cucumbers. Okay. So she was talking about how she hates cucumbers. Already in the first chapter, we know that Rachel hates cucumbers. And we also know that Rachel hates... Gosh, what is some other food item that she doesn't like? I can't remember now. But, like, she talks about a lot of stuff she doesn't like very thoroughly. Which,
these are a few of my least favorite things.
Pretty much. Okay, this is the line. So she's going to grab a plate of something and then is told it has cucumber. She says gross. Gross, I shudder, plopping a white pizza bacon grilled cheese on my plate instead. What is that?
White
pizza bacon grilled cheese.
White pizza bacon grilled cheese.
I'm assuming it's a sandwich that
Is
has
it a sandwich,
like
or
white
is it a
pizzas.
pizza?
I don't know. And that's why I was like, I would really like to know what the hell this is. Like, I was reading it, I'm like, white pizza bacon grilled cheese. What?
White pizza bacon grilled
Yeah, white
cheese.
pizza bacon grilled cheese. I don't know what that's about.
Is it the type of bacon?
I feel like it's a white pizza, which I think white pizzas are made with like Alfredo sauce, and then
bacon.
so yeah, and bacon.
But then wouldn't it be a white bacon pizza?
That's what I think. I'm confused. That was there in the sandwich.
Wouldn't it be a white bacon pizza grilled cheese?
I don't know. I just found it very confusing. And I got stuck there for like a smooth 2 or 3 minutes trying to figure out what the hell is she eating? Like, seriously, what are we eating here? But I digress. But
Just
yeah,
junk food to illustrate that she's different.
I guess so. Well, I mean, she does have to eat something that's got high calorie content in order for her to insult Mina about the fact that she can't eat these things. Also, one other thing that really kind of, I felt sorry for Mina when this particular scene happened. So I told you about how Mina invites our friend Rachel to go.
Are you a Mina apologist?
No, this is the thing. She invites Rachel to go to this Saturday night trainee session at the trainee house. Mr. No hears this, and then Mr. No turns around to look at Mina and does not remember Mina's name. Now, Mina is supposedly the lead dancer of this group of trainees. Mina's dad is also a close friend of Mr. No, and Mina's dad is like one of the wealthiest people in South Korea, according to what the information we got from the very beginning. He doesn't know Mina's name, which I'm sorry, if you're my close friend, I probably know your kid's name. Not saying, just saying, if you're my close friend, I probably know your kid's name. But he doesn't know her name, he mispronounces it, and he is like, oh yeah, your dad, that's right, I should call him sometime. I felt for Mina. I felt for Mina because Mina's doing all the wrong things. Mina provided free food for the bowing ceremony, even though DB Entertainment has a 5-star Michelin restaurant on their campus. Instead, her family is paying for the food. Her dad is close friends with the owner of the company. So this guy had to have known her since she was little. She's not even living with her parents. She's living in the trainee house with everybody else. She's training 24/7, and she can't even get her name memorized by the guy who owns the company, but he has the time to fawn all over Rachel, who's barely in the building. Like, I'm sorry. It just really bothers me, and I don't know how I'm going to do in successive chapters, because I really feel like this chapter set me up to see Rachel as an extremely entitled and frankly unobservant person. Like somebody who doesn't have the ability to step outside of her own circumstance and see why it is other people may view her in the way that they view her. So that's my thoughts on this first chapter. I'm going to try to be more positive going through other chapters, but I did need to get some of the annoyances off my chest, because I'm not going to lie. I can't say that I have the most love for Jessica. I did buy her debut solo when it came out, but I feel like she's made some missteps in the public eye since she left Girls' Generation, so it's been hard for me to be super sympathetic. But I'm gonna try to be a little bit more neutral, because at the end of the day, I want to give this a fair chance in terms of it being writing from an author. But yeah, if this book is supposed to be a reflection of Jessica's personality in any way, shape, or form, then I'm going to have to say I don't blame some of the other girls for not wanting to necessarily continue to have a relationship with her. From what I understand, there's still a couple of other girls from SNSD who hang out with Jessica, and they'll like post pictures on their Instagram of places that they went to, and Jessica will post a picture from that same place, so you kind of get the hint that they were together, but they couldn't really say they were together. So not everybody from Girls' Generation is against Jessica. She still has some connections there. But much like I gave my idea of who I think Jason Lee is, I have a very strong feeling that the people that she's mentioning as being Mina and another character who I think her name is Lizzie, I think that's Taeyeon is Mina, because it makes sense to me in my mind. And I'm pretty sure that the Lizzie character is either going to be Hyohyun or Tiffany. I feel like it's going to be Hyohyun, because they didn't indicate that this girl is foreign like Rachel is, and we all know Tiffany and Jessica were from America and came over, so that's why I'm thinking that more than likely it's going to be Lizzie's going to be Hyohyun, or possibly Sunny. Could be Sunny. It depends. If they establish that this character has a relation, like relatives to Mr. No, then that'll seal it for me. But I feel pretty confident that Lizzie is more than likely Hyohyun. That's what I'm feeling in my heart. And I think that Minna is probably Taeyeon, but I'm only in chapter 1, so we'll see. But anyway, thank you guys for joining me for this first chapter review. I'm going to try to do these live if I can, and I may be able to do them more frequently depending on how fast I read this book, but I'm going to go through this until the very end. I promise you, I'm not going to give up on this book because I already paid for it. But again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!